Good news, everybody. There's a fun weekend project that you can do right now for about under $25 and a USB charger to deploy a satellite ground station. What is a satellite ground station? Well, it's simply a radio station on the ground that receives data from an airborne satellite, or in this case, a satellite in space. They can oftentimes also send commands back up, but in this case, we're just focusing on the receive side. This is often called telemetry, health and status, oftentimes health and status on the satellite in question. It can be things like the speed, its elevation. You can factor in ground information like what is the angle of the horizon in degrees that this satellite is, probably like 40 degrees or something like that. That is from your station to the ground, to the space, the whole thing, and then take this information, all this information you collect here, and then upload it to the internet. That's, in very simple terms, of what a ground station does. Is it receives satellite signals and then saves that information, either sends it to the internet or saves it locally for some kind of processing later. Satellites often have all kinds of sensors on board, and sometimes, most of the time, you want to get that information off, and a ground station is what you would use to do that. Did I make that sound complicated? Because it's not in this case. It's using a LoRa ESP32 board to receive satellites that are flying overhead, data packets that they're downlinking. And these are pretty rudimentary data packets, but we get a really cool view of what a satellite station looks like in the form of Randy K7AGE station. So here's his location, and look how yellow that is. That's the intensity of the signals he's picking up. And then those bar graphs to the left there, those show all the different satellites he picks up in a given day. Now, what's the purpose of all this? It's fun. That's really the purpose. You're not really going to do anything with the data. This data is then sent out to whomever is going to use it. I don't really know. But it's kind of a fun project, and there's all kinds of different antennas you can build to maximize your capabilities. So I'm going to show you how to get this set up. I have my own setup, and in fact, nothing really in comparison to Randy's yet, but I'm working on it. So if you go to stations there, and you type in Hashnasi, and let's see how many I got today. About 300. Not bad. Not nearly as fleshed out as Randy's there, huh? Oh, the day change. We already hit the international dateline change. But yesterday, got about, what is that? 275. Cool. Here's a look at all the satellites that are flying around that could be picked up by TinyGS, and if you run a station, you'd be able to hear them. In fact, if you go to the website and click the little hamburger menu, you can see the satellites, the active satellites, and they'll show you pictures of them. How cool. This is a really fun project. It's not a big project. It's not complicated. It's very easy to do, and it can be a rewarding, fun thing. So what do you need to do this? Well, if you go to the website, the primary homepage, and you scroll down to the wiki down here in the bottom left, you'll get brought over to a GitHub page. It breaks down what you should probably buy or purchase or repurpose if you already have a device, and then how to install the software on your device. In my case, I purchased a LoRa 32 from LilyGo, specifically, very important, the 433 megahertz board. A lot of you probably don't have this board if you were playing around with Meshtastic. You have the 915 megahertz board. So keep that in mind. You will have to get a different device because its frequency set really does matter here. $25, you can get this board, and then you can go to flashing your TinyGS station, which is pretty straightforward. Now, back on the wiki page, if you go to install and then go to the releases link that's right there, click on that, and then you'll see a lot of, what they've updated to the latest version, but kind of just skip over that for right now. Skip over the actual files here. Go to whatever their current release is, and then you can see there's a new web flasher. Oh, interesting. Click on that. And this will give you both the login information for a TinyGS station as well as how you will load it onto an ESP32 board for the first time. For those of you that are new to playing around with serial devices, USB-C, whatever, on a computer, bring up in Windows Device Manager. Just type the Windows key, Device Manager, type it out, and you'll see this application pop up, this one to the right here. And if you open up the ports tree, that's a little tree, a limb of the tree menu there, You see I have 3 ports? Well, yours is going to look a little bit different, but if you plug in your new LoRa ESP32 for 433 megahertz board, you'll see it pop up here once it's connected to your computer. You'll see a new port, and that's what you're going to type in under install. You'll see this pop up here, and you're going to select one of these. You likely will need to use the Chrome browser to do this because that gives you the ability to connect to Serial. It's one of the browsers that does that. So, all right, I'm going to click the install button. And it should have port 3, USB COM 3. Connect. Connecting. It's doing something on the screen here. Install TinyGS. Yes. Erase device. Yes. Install. Go. Shoot, we're already done, folks. Oh, what antenna are you running, Don? You running an Eggnogs?
No, well, I was until it broke, but well,
it wants my Wi-Fi. So let me, I'm gonna change that so you guys don't see my.
Because it does,
it hides it. I mean, I
don't want anybody to even know what my Wi-Fi. Oh, it's gonna say it right now, isn't it? Visit device.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You got it, dude. Gosh. After doing the web install, the TinyGS ground station will create an access point for you to connect with your phone or something along those lines. And you'll get this website if you go to 192.168.4.1. You can go ahead and set a ground station name, whatever you want. It doesn't have to be a call sign. Remember, this is just a project anyone can do. Set a password for the admin control, which you will need to set that, so make sure you add that. And then the Wi-Fi SSID and password that you are going to use for your local network connection. You do want this to be an accurate one so you can actually upload what you're saving. Now, for latitude and longitude, note it says this will be public, so I am using my P.O. box. I'm not that far away from it, so I'm just providing that as my lat long, because that's where my station really is anyway, right? My call sign. Once you've done that, though, you're going to go ahead and now bring up your Telegram. Now, I found this easier from my phone to do this, but because I have Telegram there, I pulled up the installer.tinygs.com, and then I joined the Telegram bot, and I did the process here for automatic setup. And then I also did the manual setup because I was disconnected from the device, and I typed in my MQTT credentials. You can get that from Telegram. Again, links right there. It's a little frustrating. Just keep in mind that it's a bot, and there's only a couple of options. And if you go to @TinyGS personal bot, click on that on your phone, that'll pull up Telegram and you'll be able to communicate with it and get the information. Once you have that, then you're pretty much done from the ground station point of view. You just need to make sure that it reboots and you get connected to Wi-Fi, you give it an antenna, and then some kind of a power source. Let's talk about antennas. Now, the sky is kind of the limit here. It just needs to be able to receive, again, on 433 megahertz. A really easy one is just a simple rabbit ear dipole configuration, like a V that just kind of sticks out like that. You can build that really easily and just take the shield of the coax and go into one side and the center pin to go on the other. Not really a weather-resistant antenna, and since this is going to sit outside, you may want to keep that in mind. As ham radio operators, like a lot of you will be, you can just use a 70-centimeter antenna, so if you have a dual-band vertical outside your home, just use that to test this out. Again, you're just looking for proof of concept here. In my case, though, I just went with an Eggnogs antenna specifically for the 433 sat nogs, TinyGS, that whole thing, and I'll show you how I built that right now. All right, so if you follow the instructions, you should have your little unit working. Yours will have a screen lit, though. My screen stopped working. With that said, the machine is actually receiving signals. I know that because I tested it online, and we are receiving packets. So now it's time to get it on the roof. And to do that, Smitty over Mark Smith at Halibut Engineering, Eggnogs antenna that functions off of 436.5, which is exactly the space we need to be in. So I need to build this thing up. It's very, very easy to do. So I will start that process right now. Jesus! I put my finger right on the soldering iron tip. That was the worst burn I've ever had. I put my hand down to move this, and I put my finger right in it. I literally have not burnt myself with a soldering iron in what feels like decades. That was me just not thinking, moving something, and I put my finger right on it. Wow. Scared me half to death because I didn't know I was doing it, and then all of a sudden it started hurting. Wow. That's a pretty bad one. I might throw a Band-Aid on that. But first, There is one bit of this kit that actually is I guess the only technical part of it, and it's putting on this kind of toroid. It's easy, but also there's some soldering you have to do. So we need to add a little bit of coax to this toroid, which is going to live on this square here. We're going to zip tie it in place. But we need to separate the shielding from the center pin. And so I've just kind of cut it to length here, and I'll just do a cut like so. And this is pretty ingenious the way you do this. So go ahead and take off the outer jacket. Do it on both sides so that you have matching ends protruding. Now, Mike HateMRD had a cool video where he was showing a hack that he had from Stefano from Messi and Poloni, where they used a toothbrush. Well, I don't have a toothbrush, I have a gun cleaning brush, and I kind of want to see how it goes. I kind of already bit into it a little hard there, but let's just lightly brush with our gun cleaning brush. And yeah, that works pretty well, actually. It's pulling up. It's probably a little aggressive to use a gun cleaning brush for this, but it seems to be working pretty well. So, cool. So get those fibers separated, and then bundle them towards the front. So take as much as you can get, bring it all to the front, or facing you, if you will, while you're looking at it. How this works is pretty ingenious. So we're now going to take out the center insulator here. Okay, there's one center pin. And let's do the same on the other side. They're not completely the same length, but it doesn't really matter. So I've separated the shield from the center pin, and so I'm going to feed it through the board like this. I'm going to keep it vertical or perpendicular. I'm going to hold the toroid perpendicular, and I'm going to solder the legs on like so. That's that. And then you can take your diagonal cutters and snip it and snip it. Now, we've isolated the center of the coax from the shield, and then we can just take our toroid and lay it down, and then that gives us a good little platform to install or to solder the shield to this side of the PCB. Now I'm going to get a zip tie just to make this a bit easier to solder. So straight on the pad next to the wire, heat it up, and then just start dumping in your solder. If you have flux, this would be a perfectly valid time to drop some flux down here. Coax is the next bit you install. The side with the 3 tabs is where the kind of middle angled piece of the connector goes. So you slide it on there, and you should see the connector rest on top of that middle, or the center pin should rest on top of that middle tab. All right, now the most important decision you have to make here is the polarization of this antenna. And so a lot of lower stuff, it's not going to matter a ton with the way this antenna works. But if you're doing SatNogs or TinyGS, which is what we're doing for this video, then you're going to want right-hand CP or RHCP, right-hand polarization. So we just slide it in there so that the arrows line up. Makes a pretty good fit, friction fit, and then we're going to go around and solder it. I'm going to come to one of the tabs here. I'm going to add a little bit of solder, and I'm going to take it off, and then I'm going to check it, and yeah, it's a little off center, so I'm going to come in and I'm going to touch it to reliquefy the solder, line it up, fully seated. Looks pretty good. Okay, so then we're going to go to the other side here, and we're going to send them home. Looks pretty good. So that's the soldering portion of this. We're done with that now. It was a little quick and dirty, but it'll do exactly what we needed to do, so no big deal. The next is we got to finish up the rest of the install, and that's where we put the connector in, the whole unit really, into the cap. So let's go through there. Yeah, and so it's going to be screw, compression washer, nut, and then washer, nut, washer, washer, lock nut. Something along those lines. So let's see what kind of parts we get. Get your good pliers, hold on to these suckers, and then actually drive these bolts in, right? And, you know, don't crack the PCB or anything like that, but you're kind of going to use this as a stable platform to go into the PVC. And so you want these to be pretty much locked in place without any issue. The bottom, you guys, your little legs should just pop right out. If we take these little washers, they're rubber feet on the bottom, they're a little aggressive to get in here. That's why it helps to kind of screw in your nuts and bolts real good. I just twist them down into place. I'm sure you probably forgot where this is supposed to go because I definitely have not set that up. So I'm assuming it's to hold something in place like that. Maybe it's a guide. It's probably a guide for the install, but oh well. Sorry, Smitty. The rest of these bits is for the matching of the wire. So you're going to go from one side straight to the other side, the other side straight to the other side in kind of a square configuration. So to do that, you're going to need a washer on each post. The wire will go sandwiched between the washers and then a lock nut on top. I just loosely put them on for right now because we still need to cut up some wires to be able to use in this application. In the depths of my wire container, I found it. 14, solid. That is going to be perfect, and I got more than enough to do a couple of these projects if I need to. Wonderful. All right, we need to cut some wire to size, and I'm going to do that by kind of just pulling out the appropriate length and then just folding it and doing the top and then coming back around and doing the other side. And I'm just going to make the bottom double length, and we'll sort it out when I put it together. As far as, let's do it this way. There we go. So this needs to be 6.73 inches. So if we go right like that is 7.5, a little bit backed off. I'm going to put a mark right there. And then it's going to be 8.23 inches. So here's my mark. And then take your mark again, come back out here, and we need to do 6.73 again. Okay, so this is the top. So now we got to do another 8.23. And this is going to be a repeat of the bottom, which is going to be 6.75. So make a line, there we go. So the top should be this guy right here. So if I take this and I put a bend, and then put a bend. We're going to need another one of these, so just keep it handy, right? Keep your wire handy. And then the bottom is going to be just folding this guy over and folding this guy over. That is one square. And so if we take our bit here and just bring them together, there we go. There's our wire connection. We already did one, pretty much. And again, you're going to go in here and straighten things out a little bit. That's easy, right? That's super easy. Okay, so let's put that on the side. We need to do another one of these. No big deal. So bottom is 6.73. So 6.73. And I eyeballed it, so I kind of went in here and said, okay, so here's 6 and then 7.73 is right there. So I need to line up the first guy to be about right here. Remember the rotation of your nut too, right? So I'm going to go in here and rotate them over. Just fold it over with your hands. Now hold it out and be like, yep, nah, maybe a little longer. Okay, no big deal. Okay, there's that guy. Just going to hand tighten this for a second. And then this guy, let's see. 6. Yep, about the same. Screwed up the whole other side, so that's fine. Just go in here and readjust it. And then get your pliers and seat this whole thing home, and you're in business. So these guys are real loose right now. They're going to want to rotate as you tighten it. So kind of keep your hand around here. Straighten out your little squares. Yeah, there we go. We got a antenna. I promise, it will antenna. All right, kids, I got a really rough setup here, and I'm headlamping it, but I gotta show you something. This is really important. So I had the zip tie over the reset button, so it was in a constant boot loop. But now that it's, you know, just real roughly thrown in here, yeah, real rough. Let's slam it back in here. And so now we're tracking. The time is 7:51, November 19th. So we'll see how we're doing with the SatNog's antenna. Yeah, just you know, look, that's fine. That's fine. We'll see how it goes. I'm excited. And yeah, I'm gonna cut these off before Gordo gets pissed at me. At some point while you're building your antenna and you've done the install correctly, your station console off the TinyGS website under stations should pop up, and you should see something that says online with the green indicator. You want to be able to see that because that tells you that, yes, your station is on the air. It just may not be receiving signals because you don't have an antenna connected yet. So continue on with your antenna setup and install, and then check that to make sure you're getting those sweet, sweet packets that you see right there. Now, at the end of the day, you're ultimately trying to get to this page, meaning that your information is getting posted to the website, and that kind of tells you that you've, proof of concept all the way through to the end. But while you're using your TinyGS, you can click on the station dashboard when you're on the same network by typing in the IP address / and the IP address. And then you can go to station dashboard, which will give you a console readout, and you'll actually see all the bits of data that's picking up as long as you're getting signals in. That's also a good proof of concept, but you need to make sure you load that MQTT setting so that you get all the information uploaded to your station page, which we've already previously identified. And if you click Station Dashboard, you can see I'm connected, and this is kind of like your console window, and here's packets that we're receiving. I got 100 bytes of packets, and these are all the satellites I'm hearing. In fact, you can see it's changing frequency for us. It's setting offset for Doppler. Very cool. Handles a lot of work for you. You can kind of just enjoy it. You can go deeper if you want to. Again, it's a project. I posted my station yesterday, and it needs a little work for a finalized configuration. I will give you one piece of advice here is that when you are using the Eggnog's antenna, it obviously, wants to fit on PVC, being that end cap. Know that if you fully encapsulate your TinyGS station in that PVC, it will not work on Wi-Fi. So you have to figure something else out, like a bottom attachment, a cup or something that is still going to be water resistant that will allow the Wi-Fi signals to get in and out. Because, I had a bit of trouble with that. I did not know that PVC is going to stop your Wi-Fi from working. It's never really come up before, but hey, I learned something in this whole process. So yeah, hopefully you have fun with the TinyGS. It's incredibly simple. If you're having trouble, post in the comments below, or do check out that Telegram that they have. It's actually very helpful. There's a Telegram group, lots of really helpful people, lots of different tips and tricks, different antenna builds. Again, I went with the Eggnogs because it was super simple and I was already familiar with it. That's working for me. My next station upgrade is to get that antenna even higher up so I can get a little bit better horizon access around some of the buildings in my area, and then have more of a water-resistant enclosure for the TinyGS to live in. Keep in mind, you want to keep the coax runs short. They do talk about LNAs, low noise amplifiers, and those are, of course, an option. Just keep in mind that if you can avoid it by keeping the run short and having a good antenna, you're generally going to do really, really well. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Please post your comments below. Hopefully this helps. Hopefully you have some fun with it. It's a great little weekend project, something the kids can all get involved in, something your class can get involved in. So take the time, try it out. It's not very expensive. I'm Josh, KI6NAZ 73.